Welcome, born into light. There's something you've come to understand lately. Reacting less doesn't mean you care less. It means you understand more. There was a time when you responded instantly to everything. A tone shift, a strange look, a delayed reply. You used to feel it all so intensely. Your body would tighten. Your mind would start building stories. You thought being alert was the same as being wise. But wisdom is quieter than that. The truth is, sometimes the warning doesn't come immediately. Sometimes life lets the situation unfold. Sometimes what needs to be revealed doesn't reveal itself in the first 5 minutes or even the first hour. In your case, it was almost 2 hours. 2 hours where you could have reacted. 2 hours where you could have sent that message. 2 hours where you could have defended yourself, explained yourself, clarified yourself. You used to take everything personally. You used to think silence meant rejection, distance meant betrayal, observation meant judgment. But something has changed in you. Now, when something feels off, you don't rush to fix it. You don't rush to confront it. You don't rush to defend your name or your heart. You breathe. You sit with the discomfort. You allow time to move. And in that stillness, things reveal themselves. The one watching you, the one analyzing your reactions, the one waiting for you to slip back into your old patterns. They expected urgency from you. They expected the old version of you, the version that would over-explain, the version that would send paragraphs, the version that would feel misunderstood and immediately try to correct the narrative. But you didn't. You don't feel the need to defend yourself the same way anymore. And that's what exposed everything. Because when you stopped reacting, their intentions became louder. When you stopped chasing clarity, the truth surfaced on its own. When you didn't feed the tension had nowhere to hide. Heaven didn't rush to warn you because you didn't need panic. You needed perspective. Sometimes delays are protection, not dramatic protection, not loud cinematic protection. Just space. Space for patterns to unfold. Space for people to reveal themselves without you interrupting the process. Emotional regulation isn't coldness, it's choosing to respond instead of react. It's noticing the trigger and not letting it drive the car. You've been practicing that, quietly. No announcements, no declarations, just small moments where you pause instead of explode, where you reflect instead of assume. And it hasn't been easy, because the old part of you still whispers sometimes. It says, say something now. It says, don't let them think that about you. It says, defend yourself before it's too late. But the new you understands something deeper. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every watcher deserves a reaction. Not every situation requires your emotional labor. You are learning inner stability. And inner stability feels almost boring at first. There's no dramatic confrontation, no big reveal speech, no moment where everyone suddenly understands you. Instead, there's quiet confidence, a steady breath, a soft knowing. If it's true, it will stand. If it's false, it will collapse. And that's exactly what happened. The one observing you thought your silence was weakness. They thought your calm meant confusion. They thought if they applied enough pressure, the old version of you would return. But you've outgrown that version. You don't scramble for validation anymore. You don't twist yourself into explanations just to be seen correctly. You understand that people committed to misunderstanding you will do so no matter how clear you are. So you protect your energy, not aggressively, not defensively, just wisely. You've learned that reacting quickly often comes from fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being abandoned, fear of losing control of the narrative. But responding slowly comes from security. Security in who you are. Security in your character. Security in the fact that truth does not need urgency. When the exposure finally happened, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't explosive. It was subtle. A contradiction here. A misplaced detail there. A shift in behavior that didn't align. And because you had remained calm, you could see it clearly. If you had reacted emotionally, you might have missed it. If you had rushed to defend yourself, you might have distracted from what was quietly revealing itself. But you didn't. You allowed time to do what time does best, uncover what tension tries to hide. There's a deep maturity in that. You are no longer trying to win every moment. You are no longer trying to control every perception. You are no longer exhausting yourself trying to be understood by everyone watching. You are choosing peace over proof. And that's powerful in a very grounded way. You've lived through intensity. You felt the burn of overreacting. You felt the regret of sending that message too quickly. You felt the weight of explaining yourself to someone who was never really listening. So now you choose calm, not because you don't care, but because you care enough about your nervous system, your heart, your future self, to not hand them over to every passing trigger. The truth is, some people watch you not to celebrate you, but to study you. They want to see if you're still reactive, still easily pulled, still emotionally available for drama. And when they realize you're not, they expose themselves, not because you attacked them, not because you confronted them, but because your stability made their instability obvious. That's the quiet shift happening in your life. You're not becoming colder, you're becoming steadier. You're not detaching from life, you're detaching from chaos. You're not ignoring what feels off, you're observing it without collapsing into it. And that is growth. The delay was never punishment. It was preparation. Preparation for you to see clearly. Preparation for you to trust your restraint. Preparation for you to realize that your power isn't in how fast you respond, it's in how centered you remain. So if something feels delayed right now, if clarity hasn't come yet, if the exposure hasn't happened yet, breathe. Let time move. Let patterns reveal themselves. You don't have to chase the truth anymore. You don't have to prove your heart. You don't have to explain your soul to someone committed to misunderstanding it. You are allowed to be calm. You are allowed to respond slowly. You are allowed to outgrow the need to defend yourself. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is nothing at all. Just stay steady. Just stay grounded. Just stay you. And let what's watching you reveal itself. If this message about staying calm while truth reveals itself speaks to you, you're always welcome to subscribe to Born into Light and gently like this video so we can keep sharing this space. And if you're choosing steadiness over reaction, comment the word centered below as a quiet promise to yourself. Because when you stop performing, the room changes. There's a subtle shift that happens when you're no longer trying to manage how others perceive you. You sit a little straighter, you breathe a little deeper, you speak a little slower, and without saying a word about it, people feel that you're not as easily moved anymore. You used to feel responsible for clearing every misunderstanding. If someone seemed distant, you assumed you had done something wrong. If someone misunderstood your silence, you rushed to fill it. If someone projected their insecurities onto you, you tried to soften yourself so they would feel safer. But you're learning something now. It's not your job to regulate everyone else's emotions. It's your job to regulate your own. That realization alone changes everything. Emotional regulation isn't about suppressing what you feel. It's about feeling it fully without letting it control your behavior. It's about noticing the rise of defensiveness in your chest and choosing not to let it spill into your words. It's about recognizing the urge to prove yourself and asking gently, why do I feel the need to do that? You're not ignoring your emotions anymore. You're listening to them without obeying them blindly. That's maturity. And sometimes, maturity feels lonely at first. Because when you stop reacting the way you used to, the dynamics around you start to shift. The people who were used to quick access to your emotions feel the distance. The ones who relied on your explanations feel the silence. But that silence isn't withdrawal, it's alignment. You're aligning your reactions with your values instead of your triggers, and that's why the delay mattered. Those 2 hours weren't just about exposure. They were about you building evidence inside yourself, evidence that you can pause, evidence that you can hold discomfort without exploding, evidence that you can survive being misunderstood for a moment without unraveling. That's inner stability. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It simply stands. You might have noticed something else too. When you don't rush to explain, the right people lean in closer. They ask with curiosity instead of accusation. They approach with openness instead of assumption. Because grounded energy feels different. It's not defensive, it's not aggressive, it's not needy, it's steady. And steadiness makes people reveal who they are. Some will soften, some will step up, some will step away. All of it is information. You don't need to chase clarity when you're willing to observe. You used to think strength meant speaking louder. Now you understand that strength can look like restraint. It can look like restraint. It can look like waiting. It can look like choosing not to send the message you drafted in frustration. There's a quiet dignity in that. You're not trying to control the narrative anymore. You're trusting that your character speaks over time. You're trusting that consistency outweighs intensity. You're trusting that who you are doesn't need constant defense. And that trust is changing you from the inside. The old version of you equated calm with passivity, but now you see that calm is actually control over others, but control over yourself. That's the only control that was ever yours. You don't feel the need to win arguments the same way anymore. You don't feel the urge to dissect every comment. You don't spiral the way you once did when someone questioned your intentions. Instead, you ask yourself one simple thing. Is this aligned with who I'm becoming? If the answer is no, you let it pass, not because it doesn't hurt, not because you don't feel it, but because you refuse to abandon yourself just to correct someone else's perception. That's resilience. And resilience is quiet. It's built in moments no one sees, in pauses no one applauds, in messages unsent, in reactions withheld, in the private choice to breathe instead of react. You are building that muscle, and here's the part no one talks about. When you stop reacting, you start seeing more. You notice patterns faster. You detect inconsistencies sooner. You sense energy shifts without being consumed by them. Because your nervous system isn't in fight or flight mode anymore. You're not scanning for threats the way you used to. You're grounded. And grounded people don't need immediate answers. They can tolerate ambiguity. They can sit with, "I don't know yet," without panicking. That's a powerful place to stand. So, if you ever wonder why the warning felt delayed, why clarity didn't come instantly, why exposure unfolded slowly instead of dramatically, maybe it wasn't about the other person at all. Maybe it was about you practicing steadiness. Maybe it was about you proving to yourself that you no longer collapse under uncertainty. You've outgrown urgency as a coping mechanism. You've outgrown over-explaining as a survival strategy. You've outgrown reacting just to feel in control. Now you respond, and sometimes your response is simply composure. That composure is speaking louder than any defense ever could, so keep cultivating it. Keep choosing breath over impulse. Keep choosing reflection over reaction. Keep trusting that what is true will surface without you forcing it. You are not here to chase every narrative. You are here to live aligned with your own. And that alignment, quiet, steady, unshaken, will continue to reveal everything you need to see. Not all at once, but in time. And you are patient enough now to let that time do its work. There was a version of you that would have called this patience weakness. You remember that version. The one who believed that if you didn't act quickly, you would lose something. Lose respect, lose connection, lose control. But what you're discovering now is that what's meant to stay doesn't require panic, and what leaves because you stayed calm was never anchored in truth to begin with. That realization changes how you move. You're no longer negotiating with chaos. You're no longer bargaining with misunderstandings. You're no longer shrinking yourself to make other people comfortable in their projections. You're allowing people to have their perceptions, and you're allowing yourself to have your peace. That's a powerful boundary, not a loud one, not a confrontational one, just an internal decision. I will not disturb my own nervous system trying to manage someone else's assumptions. You used to replay conversations in your head for hours. You used to dissect every word, Every pause, every shift in tone. You thought if you could analyze it enough, you could prevent future discomfort. But now you're realizing that over-analysis was just another form of fear. Fear of being misunderstood. Fear of being misjudged. Fear of not being seen clearly. And here's the truth you're slowly accepting. Not everyone will see you clearly, and that's okay, because clarity is not something you can force. It's something others choose. When you stop reacting, you give people the space to choose who they're going to be around you. Some will choose maturity. Some will choose projection. Some will choose distance. And instead of scrambling to influence their choice, you're learning to observe it. Observation is powerful. It keeps you from entangling yourself in stories that aren't yours. It keeps you from absorbing emotions that don't belong to you. It keeps you rooted in your own center while everything else moves. And yes, sometimes it still stings. Growth doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you feel without spiraling. You feel the disappointment, but you don't let it define you. You feel the tension, but you don't escalate it. You feel the urge to explain, but you check it before you act on it. That pause, that small, almost invisible pause, is where your power lives now. You're not trying to be untouchable. You're trying to be stable. And stability feels different than what you were taught strength looked like. It's not about dominating the moment. It's not about proving your innocence. It's not about exposing others dramatically. It's about standing so steady in yourself that exposure happens naturally. Because when you don't react, the spotlight shifts. It shifts from your emotions to their behavior. It shifts from your defense to their inconsistencies. It shifts from your explanation to their intentions. And that shift is subtle but undeniable. You may have noticed that when you stay grounded, conversations reveal more than you could have uncovered by questioning. Silence invites honesty. Patience exposes motives. Stillness makes tension uncomfortable for those who rely on chaos. You don't have to interrogate reality anymore. You can trust it to show you what you need to see. There's something deeply calming about that trust. It softens your shoulders. It slows your breathing. It quiets the constant need to be on guard. You're not naive. You're aware. But awareness doesn't require anxiety. You can be perceptive without being paranoid. You can be intuitive without being reactive. You can sense something is off and choose to wait instead of attack. That's growth. You used to think resilience meant enduring everything silently. Now you understand resilience means responding intentionally. Sometimes your response will be a boundary, sometimes it will be a conversation, sometimes it will be distance, and sometimes it will be distance. And sometimes it will simply be non-participation. Not every situation deserves your engagement. You are allowed to conserve your energy. You are allowed to let misunderstandings correct themselves. You are allowed to trust that truth doesn't collapse under silence. There's a quiet confidence forming in you. It doesn't seek applause. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand recognition. It just exists. It's the confidence that says, if I am aligned with my values, I don't need to rush. It's the confidence that says, if someone misreads me, I can survive that. It's the confidence that says, my calm is not up for negotiation. And that kind of confidence makes certain dynamics fall away naturally. Not because you fought them, not because you forced change, but because you stopped feeding what wasn't healthy. You're learning that your energy is precious, not in an ego-driven way, not in a I'm better than this way, but in a grounded, mature way. You've lived through enough emotional intensity to know the cost of constant reaction. You felt the exhaustion of always defending, always clarifying, always managing perceptions. And you're tired of that version of survival. Now you choose regulation. Now you choose stillness. Now you choose to let time separate what is genuine from what is performative. And as you continue this way, something else happens. You become less afraid of being watched, because you're no longer performing. If someone observes you, they'll see consistency. If someone studies you, they'll see steadiness. If someone waits for you to unravel, they'll wait a long time. Not because you're perfect, but because you're centered. And being centered doesn't mean you never wobble. It means when you wobble, you know how to return to yourself. That's the difference now. You return to yourself faster. You don't stay stuck in reaction for days. You don't let one misunderstanding define your week. You don't build entire identities around other people's opinions. You come back to your breath. You come back to your values. You come back to your calm. And that return, that gentle, repeated return, is what makes you resilient. So if something feels delayed right now, if you're waiting for clarity, if you sense that something will reveal itself but hasn't yet, trust your steadiness. Trust the version of you that no longer rushes. Trust the quiet strength that doesn't need to prove itself. You are not behind. You are not powerless. You are not missing the signs. You are simply grounded enough to let truth unfold at its own pace. And that pace, slow, steady, intentional, is where your real power has always been. Stay there. Stay calm. Stay aligned. Everything that needs to surface will. And you won't have to sacrifice your peace to see it. That's the part you're finally understanding. For so long you thought clarity required emotional cost. That understanding required confrontation. That peace was something you earned only after chaos burned itself out. But now you see something gentler. Peace isn't the reward after the storm. It's the posture you choose while the clouds are still forming. You don't brace the same way anymore. When something feels uncertain, you don't immediately assume the worst. You don't tighten your chest and prepare for impact. You don't gather mental evidence to defend yourself before anything has even happened. You wait. And in that waiting, you're not passive, you're present. You're observing your thoughts instead of becoming them. You notice the old narrative trying to rise. They're against you. You notice the old fear whispering, you're about to be misunderstood again. You notice the old instinct pushing, say something before it's too late. But instead of obeying it, you breathe through it. That breath is a quiet act of self-trust. Because what you're really saying in that moment is, I trust myself enough not to rush. And that trust changes how you experience everything. When you trust yourself, delays don't feel like danger. Silence doesn't feel like abandonment. Observation doesn't feel like attack. It just feels like space. Space for truth to organize itself. Space for other people to reveal their emotional maturity, or lack of it. Space for you to decide who deserves access to your inner world. You used to feel exposed when someone was watching you closely. Now you feel steady, because you know that if someone is studying you, they will find consistency. If someone is looking for cracks, they will find humanity, not instability. If someone is waiting for you to fall back into old habits, they'll slowly realize the chapter is closed. You're not who you were, and you don't need to announce that. The shift is evident in how long you're willing to sit with discomfort without trying to control it. That's emotional regulation at its core, not suppression, not indifference, not pretending you don't care, but caring without collapsing. You still care deeply, you still feel deeply, you still want harmony, clarity and connection, but you no longer abandon yourself to achieve them. That's the difference. You're no longer willing to overextend your emotional energy just to keep things smooth. You're no longer translating yourself into smaller pieces so others don't feel intimidated. You're no longer apologizing for taking up calm space. Your calm is not arrogance, it's integration. It's what happens when you faced your own intensity and learned how to hold it gently instead of letting it spill everywhere. And the more you hold yourself this way, the more your environment adjusts. Some people feel safer around you because your steadiness invites honesty. Some people feel unsettled around you because your steadiness exposes performance. Neither reaction is your responsibility. You're not here to manage how your growth makes others feel. You're here to embody it. And embodiment is quiet. It doesn't need dramatic language. It doesn't need spiritual labels. It doesn't need grand declarations. It just needs consistency. Consistency in how you respond. Consistency in how you treat yourself. Consistency in how you refuse to be pulled into unnecessary storms. You might still have moments where the old reflex surprises you, a flash of defensiveness, a sudden urge to clarify. a spike of anxiety when something feels ambiguous. That's okay. Growth doesn't erase your history. It reshapes how you relate to it. The difference now is that you catch yourself faster. You pause mid-thought and ask, is this reaction coming from the present or from an old wound? And that question alone slows everything down. You are no longer living on autopilot. You are choosing your responses deliberately. That's powerful in the most grounded way possible. It means you're no longer easy to provoke. It means you're no longer predictable in your triggers. It means you're no longer accessible through manipulation. Not because you've hardened, but because you've stabilized. And stability is quiet strength. It's the kind that doesn't seek to overpower. It doesn't compete. It doesn't escalate. It simply stands firm without raising its voice. The person who was watching you, waiting for reaction, for proof, for emotional movement, likely didn't anticipate this version of you. They expected familiarity. They expected the cycle. They expected urgency. But what they met instead was composure. And composure makes hidden motives uncomfortable. Because when you don't react, people are left alone with their own intentions. There's nothing to deflect onto you. Nothing to blame your sensitivity for. Nothing to mask their behavior behind. Just clarity. And clarity rarely needs confrontation. It needs time. That's why the delay wasn't a mistake. It was alignment. Alignment with the version of you that no longer needs to interrupt the unfolding of truth. You trust your perception now, not in a paranoid way, not in a suspicious way, but in a grounded, steady way. If something feels off, you note it. If something feels sincere, you allow it. If something feels unclear, you give it space. You're not chasing certainty anymore. You're cultivating stability. And stability is what carries you through seasons where answers don't come immediately. It keeps you from filling gaps with fear. It keeps you from assuming the worst. It keeps you from fighting battles that haven't even begun. You are no longer at war with uncertainty. You're at peace with your ability to handle it. That's a profound shift. So wherever you are right now, whether clarity has already surfaced or you're still in the waiting, remember this: you don't need to rush your growth. You don't need to prove you're calm. You don't need to explain your silence. You are allowed to move slowly. You are allowed to respond thoughtfully. You are allowed to let exposure happen without your interference. Your steadiness is not accidental. It was built through moments where you wanted to react but didn't. Built through nights where you processed instead of projected. Built through experiences that once overwhelmed you, but now simply inform you. You are not the same, and you don't need to look back to confirm it. Just notice how you're sitting right now. Notice how much quieter your mind has become. Notice how you no longer feel the urgency to fix, defend, or prove in every situation. That's growth. Not loud, not dramatic, not ego-driven, just deeply grounded. Stay with that. Let it anchor you, and trust that anything meant to be revealed will rise to the surface without you sacrificing your inner balance to force it there. There's a quiet relief in living this way. You're no longer carrying the pressure of constant vigilance. You're no longer scanning every interaction for hidden meaning. You're no longer assuming that every delay is a threat or every silence is a rejection. You've softened, but you haven't weakened. You've steadied, but you haven't numbed yourself. You simply decided that your inner world deserves protection, and protection doesn't always look like walls. Sometimes it looks like discernment. It looks like asking yourself, is this worth my energy? It looks like recognizing when a reaction would only entangle you further. It looks like understanding that not all tension is yours to resolve. You used to believe that being the bigger person meant absorbing everything quietly. Now you understand that being mature means choosing what you participate in. There's power in selective engagement. There's dignity in calm withdrawal. There's wisdom in knowing when silence is strength. And the more you embody this, the more you feel something settle inside you. A deep, grounded sense of safety. Not safety because nothing challenging will ever happen again, but safety because you trust yourself to handle it. That trust is everything. It means when you feel misunderstood, you don't spiral into self-doubt. It means when someone questions you unfairly, you don't immediately collapse into defense. It means when something is delayed, you don't assume you've lost control. You stay centered. And from that center, your responses become intentional instead of impulsive. You speak when it aligns. You step back when it's wise. You move forward when it's clear. You're no longer living at the mercy of emotional waves. You're learning how to stand in the ocean without being pulled under by every current. That's resilience, not dramatic survival, not heroic endurance, just steady presence. And here's the quiet truth beneath all of this. The exposure you witnessed wasn't just about someone else being revealed. It was about you seeing yourself clearly. You saw that you could pause. You saw that you could wait. You saw that you didn't need urgency to feel powerful. You saw that your calm could hold. And that realization changes how you move forward from here. You don't need to fear who's watching. You don't need to fear being studied or misunderstood. You don't need to fear delayed clarity. Because you know now, your stability is not dependent on immediate validation. It's rooted in self-awareness. It's rooted in emotional discipline. It's rooted in the quiet decision to choose peace, even when your old instincts want proof. You are not here to react your way through life. You are here to respond with intention. And intention requires patience. So as you continue walking this path, slower, steadier, more grounded, remember that you are not falling behind. You are refining. You are not avoiding confrontation. You are choosing alignment. You are not disengaged from life. You are deeply engaged with your own inner stability. Let others move in urgency if they need to. Let others speak quickly, react loudly, defend endlessly. You don't have to join them. Your calm is not a performance, it's a practice, and every day you choose to breathe before responding, to observe before assuming, to reflect before reacting. You strengthen that practice. That is the quiet transformation happening in you. It won't trend, it won't always be understood, but it will keep you steady, and steadiness will carry you further than reaction ever could. So if you've been misunderstood lately, if you've been watched, analyzed, or silently tested, if you felt the delay and wondered why clarity didn't come immediately, take this as reassurance. You are not losing your edge. You are refining your center. You are not becoming passive. You are becoming precise. You are not shrinking. You are stabilizing. And that stability is your quiet strength. Stay there. Stay soft but steady. Stay aware but calm. Stay rooted in the version of you that no longer needs to prove anything to be secure. Everything that needs to unfold will unfold. Everything that needs to be seen will be seen. And you won't have to sacrifice your peace to witness it. You've chosen calm. And that choice is changing your life. Quietly, deeply, and for the better. May you rest in the quiet strength of knowing that what's meant to be revealed will always find its way to the light. If this reflection felt supportive, you're gently invited to like this video and subscribe to Born into Light for more calm and steady guidance.